Hi, I'm Hazel. It is almost Saturday, so it's time for us to sit down and hang out and catch up with a vlog. We had so much stuff happen this week, but first of all, there's an office behind me. I've been doing the green screen previously, but I decided to take it down because I didn't have a whole lot of room in my office with it up, and I just decided it was time for a change. This is by no means permanent. I will certainly put it back up one day. Maybe when I move, maybe before then, maybe never, probably not never. I don't know. At some point. But for now, I've got some posters. I've got, there's like a, he's kind of got his head covered by the mic, but there's like a little Wind Rider cub and a little Zergling. There's a troll priest, I think, on the table next to some of the plants. And yeah, this is good because it makes me clean up my office more than like once a week. So there's that. I also wanted to say thank you to anybody that has been watching the Fishing and Legion video, and if anybody is new to the channel due to the Fishing and Legion video, welcome. I'm Hazel, and I talk about WoW, and a lot. That's pretty much all I do these days. Anyways, what actually happened this week? So this week, I saw the Warcraft movie. I saw it last night. I was a little confused. Like, today is the day it officially launches in America, but normally there's like these midnight movie releases. So the second that the calendar ticks over into the correct date, you can go see the movie. And I was very excited to go to that. And apparently, that's too much for some people. So they actually start showing it at 7 p.m. the day before it releases as an earlier midnight release, which to me just really defeats the purpose of midnight release. But I mean, it was handy because we were able to go because we could get somebody to watch our dog because it wasn't the middle of the night. So I went and saw it at 7 o'clock last night. First impressions of like the experience was I was very disappointed by how few people were there. Like, I figured because like 7 o'clock was the first showing, or at least in my theaters, of that movie, I thought that it would at least be mostly sold out, and it was not. The theater was probably 20% full at best, but the people there were really cool. There was lots of other shirts, other people wearing WoW shirts. I think I was the only Alliance shirt. There was a lot of Hordes there, and we must never forget the crimes they've done against our people. But yeah, that was great. The movie itself, so I read some reviews after I watched the movie. I went into it fairly neutral as far as review reading went. I personally loved the movie. I thought it was, I enjoyed almost everything about it. I thought it was visually wonderful. I got a kick out of the story. I really liked the characters. I thought the acting was really good. And like the costumes and the set pieces and just like the whole thing, it was great. If I had a lot of money, I would go see it a bunch more times, but that's not really a thing that I do. But when it does come out on, well, buy it and download it to my computer kind of thing, then I will definitely be doing that because I got to show it to my cat. For whatever reason, I was really sad that my cat couldn't come with me. Not that she ever would. Like, you don't bring cats to theaters, nor does my cat leave my house. But lately she's been like sitting on the couch next to me and like holding on to my arm with her little paws when we watch TV together, so I kind of wanted to show her the movie, so I'll be able to do that when it comes out. But yeah, it was great. Anybody on the fence about going to see it, if you are a Warcraft fan or you just enjoy general fantasy movies, I would go see it. I wouldn't get your hopes up too much. I don't want to like overhype it here. It wasn't the best movie ever. I can definitely kind of see some of people, like I can understand and relate to the criticisms that some people have of it. I just personally disagree with them, and I really hope that it does well enough that we get the extended director's edition cut released, which supposedly has like an extra 40 minutes of footage from the movie in it, so I would really love to get that. But yeah, it was great. I hope they make more. I enjoyed seeing it. I think everybody should go see it. And while I understand the criticisms people have with it, I don't agree with them, and I thought it was just the best. So I'm very, very satisfied with it. Not disappointed at all. There were no disappointed feelings in me. And my husband, who was quite skeptical of the whole thing to begin with, enjoyed it. And that's saying quite a bit because he really didn't expect that he would like it at all. So yeah, Warcraft movie was great. News, Legion specific news. So yesterday there was a Legion Summit, which is a big meeting between Legion devs and a whole bunch of influencers and fan sites. I'm obviously not a part of that because I'm like, if you've got a bar graph and there's me and there's like the people that actually went there, it's a weird looking bar graph. But the good news is that we got a huge amount of news. There's all sorts of stuff, so I totally recommend that you go and either read these fan site interviews, or the best place I think to go through it all, MMO Champion has done a write-up which has summarized all of the findings from everybody else's interviews. So that's where I got all my info from. Totally recommend reading that. I won't go over everything, but I will talk about the things that were interesting to me. So the first thing I have to say is that, because this is relevant to the video that I just put out, they did say that the Underlight Angler, the artifact fishing rod, is currently implemented on the beta and is definitely going to be in the game. So that's kind of contrary to what I was saying yesterday, the day before, where I thought they wouldn't put it in. So that's mildly embarrassing, but I mean, it's okay to be wrong. And the reason I betcha, now that I think about it, the reason I betcha that I didn't find it is it's got to be either tied to being level 110 or maxed out fishing, and I was neither of those things in my fishing video. I mean, I'm pretty dedicated to making videos, but I'm probably not going to sit down and max out fishing skill on the beta. That sounds like a little bit more time than I have. So I only made it to fishing skill like 273, so it is actually kind of understandable that I didn't find it. So the Underlight Angler is going to be a thing, and it's probably at max fishing skill or max level or both. Or maybe there's like a fishing quest chain, or maybe there's some fishing world quests that unlock it. We don't know how it's unlocked, but it is implemented. It is going to happen, so hooray for that. They have talked about their plans on content patches in Legion, like the content, like the raid tier cycle, how they want to release new content, the timing of it. They acknowledged that they released Blackrock Foundry too quickly after Heimal, and then we had that huge wait waiting for HFC, and then an even huger wait waiting for now. So they acknowledged that the pacing in Warlords was kind of janky, and I think nobody disagrees with that. And they really want to work on smoothing that out in Legion. They have what they say is a very solid patch plan. They say there are going to be 3 raid tiers, not raids, but raid tiers. So the first, on launch, we're going to have 2 different raids, and those are the first tier, and then there's going to be 2 separate patches subsequent to that each have their own raid tier on them, which sounds more like the MOP style of doing things, which I'm very excited about. They did say that they want to model the content release schedule after MOP as opposed to after Warlords, because I don't think anybody really liked Warlords. So that's that. They want to do at least 1 additional dungeon. I think they confirmed to somebody. It's weird because some of the interviews actually have conflicting information, but they did confirm to somebody that there's going to be at least 1 new dungeon coming in a future patch, which is something I think a lot of us have missed in Warlords and in MOP. They only put out dungeons on launch, and they didn't do any after the fact, whereas the Kata and Wrath post-release dungeons were actually really good, so they're going to get back to that. And I'm just really... the other thing that they said kind of relative to that whole frame of thought is that they are trying to correctly anticipate how long the next expansion after Legion is going to take to make so that we don't end up with this content drought. And I think that's hilarious because they've been trying to correctly anticipate that forever. But maybe they've got it this time. I don't know. I don't work there. So hopefully they can correctly anticipate that, because I mean, how many year-long final patches are we gonna have to sit through? But I'm gonna keep playing anyway, so I'm kind of a big fat hypocrite. So hopefully pacing is better in Legion, which I think is the biggest problem. I mean, aside from lack of outdoor content, but people are really upset with the pacing of Warlords, so I think that's gonna help a lot. They talked about a whole bunch of other stuff. Other things that were exciting to me were new caster animations being talked about. They've got a lot of new melee animations, so they're working with some new caster animations, which as a caster I'm quite jazzed about. I really hope they actually get to a point where they can do caster weapon animations where you take your staff off of your back where it's been glued for the last 10 odd years and you actually wiggle it around a little bit. That just sounds great. So hopefully they get to that point. They may not get to that point for Legion, but at least it's on their radar. What else? There was another thing. There's a bunch of other things, but okay. So the pre-expansion patch, and this is actually contrary to how I thought things were going to go out. So this is all news to me. The pre-expansion patch is going to contain things like class changes in the new transmog system, and we knew that. So that's going to come out at X date, not confirmed. Nobody knows. There was a leaked date of July 19th, but that's leaked. It's not confirmed. So pre-expansion patch is going to come out. And then they said that a couple of weeks after that's released, then they're going to add the Demon Hunters, the Broken Shore event, and the Demon Invasions. So that's really exciting because what that implies is that the pre-expansion patch with the class changes in the transmog system is going to be a couple of weeks before a thing that is presumably a couple of weeks before launch. So I'm gonna speculate that the patch that includes the Demon Hunters, the Broken Shore event, and the Demon Invasions is going to be between 3 and 5 weeks long. Like, I can't imagine it being shorter than 3 weeks. Like, they want people to experience that pre-launch event. They're putting a lot of work into it. So I'm going to say ballpark about a month of Demon Invasions, getting your Broken Shore done, having Demon Hunters, having people get used to their Demon Hunters. So about a month of that. And they say a couple of weeks before that, then we're going to get the pre-expansion patch. So if we say that we're going to get the Demon Hunters and the Broken Shore event 1 month before Legion launches on August 31st, so we're talking like July 31st, it's basically what this says to me is that it's going to bump that, like, we could get the pre-launch patch of class changes and transmog system basically as soon as it's done. The transmog system's good to go. It's like ready to go as far as I can see. I've never had any problems with it on a beta. But class changes, as soon as they have smoothed out class changes and they have committed to where they want those to be, they can pretty much drop that patch on us at any time. Presumably sometime in July. So like as soon as 3 weeks from now, well, that's way too early, but like between 3 and 6 weeks from now, we're going to get that. And I'm so excited for the transmog system. I have 8,000 salvage crates to open. I have like 12, 15. I have so many characters that I've just done over the years, and I've done Lore Master 1.5 times basically at this point. I'm going to have so much transmog. I want to play dress up. So that, and then like class changes and stuff is going to take some getting used to. So there will be that. But I am so excited about that pre-patch, and I really hope we get it sooner rather than later. The only thing that's going to bring that's kind of a downside to me is it's going to end the PvP season, but I've kind of let go of my WoD gladiator dream anyways. I'm kind of happy with being a great duelist, like a high-level duelist. That's fine. And you never know. I mean, one of my druids is at 2,500. If they, like, ban half the ladder, I could get it. It could happen. Oh, that was another thing that happened this week, is they sent out emails to pretty much anybody that's ever PvP'd that say, hey, you've proven yourself to be the top in the realms of player versus player. You should enter BlizzCon. And it's the wording of it makes it sound like they're sending this out to the top like 0.5% of the ladder, like they're sending it out to rank ones. But they're actually sending it out to pretty much everybody. It was like an advertising thing. I feel like at somewhere at Blizzard, somebody wrote up this email. It was like, hey, let's send this out to gladiators and above, people like players that are at a current glad rating, and make sure that they all know about the regionals and how to enter, and give them a link to do it so that we get really good participation for our tournament. And then somebody got that email and totally misunderstood and thought, hey, I'm going to advertise let's advertise the regionals and make sure everybody knows about it. Here's the advertise email. Let's just send this out to everybody. So people that like have, 1,100 rating are suddenly getting invited to enter the BlizzCon regionals. And of course that you can if you want. I mean, there's no minimum rating requirement. You got to believe in your dreams, but that was just really funny that I got one, and friends that barely PvP got one, and friends that PvP'd once and Kata got one. And it was just worded in a way that made it sound like you're more important than you are, so that was pretty funny. What else? I think that's about it. There's a whole bunch, like I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff that came out of that Legion Summit, so I highly recommend that you go and look through that. As far as videos I'm going to be working on this week, I want to do some more profession coverage. I was looking at archaeology, but that's going to have to wait for a little bit because I went and trained archaeology on my little Beast Mastery Hunter that I've got in the beta, and it gave me a bunch of dig sites at level 1 in the Broken Isles, which is good. But it put them all in Suramar, which I can't go to until level 110-ish, so I'm gonna need to wait on that. But we're looking at first aid for sure. That shouldn't be very hard to get out. And then pet battle stuff is basically my next. I've got a big list of stuff. There's gonna be lots of new stuff this week, so just stay tuned for that. Questions from this week. MG95A says, hi Hazel, how is Resto Druid shaping up to be in raids and dungeons in Legion? I'm switching up my mains from my mage to my druid. I just want to know how the class feels. So I did, anybody that's seen any of my dungeon videos knows that I did all of the dungeons. I haven't done any raids, but I've done all of the dungeons and a couple of difficulties on a Resto Druid in Legion. And I have to say that, after the change they made to Resto Druid Mastery in Legion, where once you've got 3 hots on a target, you've maxed out your mastery buff, and you can then, think about other things in your life. You don't have to put 9 different hots in somebody in order to get the best healing going on them. After they made that change, it feels great. It feels a lot like Resto Druid healing in Warlords. I only did a little bit of Resto Druid PvE healing in Warlords, to be honest with you. But it feels like it's in a good spot. You've got a lot of different tools. It's a little bit more single target focused than before, but you still have some good raid healing capability. And you've got some meaningful talent choices that kind of mix up how you like to heal. So I think as the healer goes, it's quite good. I haven't really tried other healers in the beta, to be honest with you, so I don't really have much to compare it with. I would say the thing to be concerned about more than how Resto Druid feels, which I would say is average or above average, is how you feel about healing as opposed to being a DPS, because that is a very different dynamic, both socially and in terms of how it feels when you're raiding, and a couple other things. The reason that I'm a ranged DPS while raiding in WoW, and I heal in pretty much everything else, including other games, is healing in a raid environment is very, it's kind of thankless. Like, sure, people appreciate you, and you're definitely needed, and it's easier to get a raid spot, but towards the end of the tier, it's not that easy to get a raid spot, because healers are the one thing that gets cut down on as the content gets nerfed. Like, if you need 4 healers in the beginning of a tier, and at the end of it, everybody has some gear and they want to clear the content faster, they're going to drop a healer instead of dropping a DPS if you want to have a smaller raid size, assuming that you're in a mildly hardcore guild. If you're in a casual guild, then don't worry about any of this. But they're going to drop a healer because you want to bring as few healers as you can to get through the content and kill the fights, especially once it's on farm. So if you're looking at like Mythic, then it's kind of a different thing. And then the other thing is that as a healer, like as a damage player, as a damage dealer, I show up, I do the mechanics to the best of my abilities, and then all of my other energy after completing the mechanics is spent to making my meters higher and to competing against my other raiders. And that's really, really fun. It's very fun. Like, even if I wipe, and we're going to wipe a lot, like that's a thing that happens when you're learning how to raid, or when you're progressing through a raid, I can still look and say, okay, so we wiped to that, and we know what we're going to work on next time as far as mechanics go, but I totally kicked the crap out of that other priest, or this mage over here, or like whatever. Or I can say, hey, this, holy paladin is somehow doing more damage than me. What's wrong with my life? What am I doing? And then you can kind of work on it. So there's like that extra level of self-improvement. And you can definitely self-improve as a healer, but it's much harder to measure because healing meters are not as cut and dry as damage meters because they're very dependent on a whole bunch of different factors other than just you and the buttons that you're pressing. Like, some classes may just do better on meters than others. There's a lot of things that go into healing other than just raw throughput. So, and then meter padding as a healer is actually not necessarily great. So, it's just a different feel. And if you like healing, and a lot of people really do, then that's great. But if you've been a damage dealer forever and you've never really healed before, I definitely recommend going through some dungeons and then a little bit of raids now in Warlords just to see if it's something that you like. And yeah, that's that. Ham Beast Destroyer asks, I really love your accent. Do you mind saying what country you're from? So I'm from Canada. I am from Western Canada. I grew up in Victoria, or the Victoria-ish area anyways. Oh, hi, Kat. And I moved here to America when I was, 2 years ago. And yeah, that's that. Quibbly asks, do you stream and YouTube as a full-time job? So kind of yes and no. This is my job. I can't say, honestly, I can't say that I make enough money to call it a real job, but there's a couple different factors that let me do this. One of them is my wonderfully supportive husband. The second one is my mildly neurotic dog that we cannot leave alone. Our dog has separation anxiety to the point that if you try and leave him alone in the apartment, he will scream bloody murder, and that's just not good for not getting evicted and stuff. So somebody has to stay with the dog, or we have to take him to daycare every day, which is quite expensive for a dog. And then the other thing is that I'm just kind of like combining the stuff that I do with streaming and YouTube with full-time housewifing to make it kind of easier on my husband. So we've got like a good partnership set up that way. So yes, this is my full-time job. I definitely dream of earning enough money to call it a real job. I definitely make enough money right now that we're okay, but it's a little on the tight side. So this is kind of a following my dreams kind of thing. But yeah, it's the only thing I'm doing. So there's that. If any of you have any questions you would like answered on a almost Saturday vlog, just leave those comments on the most recent vlogs. If you're commenting on an old vlog, like if you look at the date and it was like a month ago, I will not read those. So don't do that. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.